watching the Rugby Report. I'm Jackson Faulkner. 1 week of D1 Collegiate Florida Rugby is in the books, and from the heart of Central Florida at our studio in Winter Park, we'll break down all the action from last weekend. What a better place to start than the first winners of the season? The Gators from the University of Florida notched the first win of 2023 in their home opener. They defeated the UCF Knights, who surged back from down 26-2 at the half for a final score of 26-20. Scoring 4 tries in their victory, they get 5 points on the leaderboards, putting them at a 3-way tie for first place in the conference. This Saturday, Florida will head to Florida State University to play the Seminoles. After falling to the Gators week 1, here's Nico Arceniegas for more about those UCF Knights.
The Florida Collegiate Rugby Conference kicked off this past weekend. The UCF Knights traveled to the Swamp for a hard-fought battle against the University of Florida. Ultimately, the Gators took the first win of the season, but it wasn't without the Knights putting up a fight first. UCF trailed by as many as 24 points in the second half. However, the Knights, through sheer determination and grit, cut the lead to only 6 points. The effort was led by Edward Prost, who had 2 tries. Then, Caleb Gordskin and Noah Morris got on the action with 1 try each. I had the chance to catch up with assistant coach Kent, the man that has been at the heart of this program since its very conception. He emphasized on UCF's main target this year.
So our first goal is to win our league games and put ourselves in a position to move up the ladder and see what we can do about competing on a regional level. And then from there, we might put ourselves in a position to compete for the national championship again, which would be really like to be able to do.
The Knights will be on the road one more time as they are set to travel to Miami to face FIU for the second game of this season.
Let's take a look at the box scores from week 1. USF upsets last year's champs FSU. The Seminoles had a 19-5 lead heading into the second half, but USF scored 3 tries in just 10 minutes of play to take the lead in the second half. FIU scored 6 tries on UNF. Segundo Kremaski for FIU was responsible for 18 of the Panthers' points. And Florida found a way to hang on to their 26-2 lead at the half. They defeat the Knights 26-20. Among the biggest stories of this week was that USF victory. Here's Jake Ricker with more from South Florida.
The USF men's rugby team kicked off their season against FSU last Saturday, and despite having to play from behind early, USF never looked back. It was not an ideal start for USF as FSU scored first to take an early lead. The Bulls would trail heading into the second half 14-5, but the Bulls would go on to score 4 tries and take the lead. Thanks to great defense played by USF, Florida State was only able to score on 1 conversion, giving the Bulls the victory. USF's own Gio spoke after the game on how it feels to come home with a win.
I mean, it feels great. I mean, we're coming off the back end also of a state championship for 7, so to keep the winning streak keep going on, it's just amazing.
USF defeated FSU by a final score of 25-19 and moves to 1-0 to start the season. Earlier this week, I had the privilege to speak with John Carlo. I asked him what he loves most about a sport that some might consider small.
I like that question actually because to me, so I'm initially a football player. When I was young, I played rugby for more than half my life now. But when I started rugby at 11 years old, I thought it was abstract and I was kind of like iffy about playing it. But then I saw that like everyone has a role on the field, like no matter your size or shape or speed or anything, like everyone has a specific designated role. So that's pretty cool. And everyone runs with the ball and everyone can do anything with the ball, which is pretty nice as opposed to football and other sports where there's like a few star players who touch it and everyone else has another role with that doesn't really involve running the ball. So that's why I like rugby a lot. It gives everyone a pretty equal opportunity.
So if you had to give a pitch to somebody maybe that hasn't watched a lot of rugby, what would you say that they're missing out on?
Camaraderie more than anything, because unlike many sports, at the end of each game, like all the teams get together, which I really like. Like I have friends on every single team in the FCC that I've known either before college rugby or during, and like really like those friendships are going to last forever. And that's a really cool thing about rugby. Like there's rivalries and everything, but at the end of the day, like we're all just bashing heads and having fun. So that's a good thing about it. Like, I like getting together afterwards and just like acting like nothing happened pretty much.
All right, Giancarlo, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate you having me.
USF will now take on FAU at Florida Atlantic University this Friday, January 27th at 6 p.m. And they will look to remain undefeated with another win. Back to you, Jackson.
Thanks, Jake. A great start to the season for the Bulls. How can the Seminoles of FSU bounce back? Here's Matt Seaman for more.
The Florida Collegiate Conference is officially underway, and the defending champs are back. The Florida State Seminoles hosted the Bulls of South Florida. For the first time in 2 seasons, the title holders fell short, 19-25. Last year, the Noles went undefeated, but heading into this year, head coach Michael Gomez had concerns about the team's chemistry. During the preseason, the team participated in friendly games along with 64 other teams. Although they dominated in both of their games, Coach Gomez was disappointed in the level of competition. He also mentioned that this game would be a test to his team. South Florida proved just that. The Seminoles were hungry to tackle the field this year, with new talent paired with experienced leadership. Ethan Frisk struck first for FSU with a try and a successful conversion kick from Cole Ryan. Shortly after, USF responded with a try of their own. After a wild finish to the first half, the defending champs looked terrific on both sides. Defense was the key to success last season when they only gave up 79 points. Saturday, that continued when the Bulls only had 5 going into halftime. The second half would be the true test of this younger team, though. South Florida scored 20 points unanswered and completed the shutout as time expired. Experience is a huge factor in rugby. Leading a team where most of the first 15 only have been playing for 2 years with the club is difficult. In fact, only 3 starters of the 15 have been with the club for all 4 years. Dominic Truckett, Matt Cuomo, and Barrett, aka Bear Bollinger, will be the faces these young guys must look up to. But talent is spread throughout the team, with Bears back row anchor teammate Jack O'Keefe, who is arguably their best player.
So in the game, it was a pretty physical game. We had a good matchup against USF, but I don't think our team was fully there. It was our first game back. Everyone was trying to get the fundamentals down, make passes and things like that, and we just weren't executing the way that we usually do. And they were a good team. They came out, performed. We knew what they were going to do, and we just didn't, oppose them. We didn't execute at all in any part of the game. So we're going to get back practice on Monday. We're going to lock in, and we'll fix what we need to fix.
Another name to keep your eyes on is in the backs. Ben Celestin, who had a very strong 2022, returns to the heartbeat position, scrum half.
We started off the game pretty strong, and then we just kind of fell flat the rest of the game. Literally the first 30 seconds we scored, and after that we were on our heels the rest of the game. So that being said, we just kind of got complacent coming from the season we had last year. We had a lot of returning guys, so we had good experience. However, we just came out today, just played a really bad game, and then other teams capitalized. Some calls went our way, some calls didn't, but we can't really fight that. We just have to play rugby. So, but other than that, man, we're gonna come back next week and just hopefully get the W next week. But we're just moving on past this.
Next week, the Gators arrive to take on the Seminoles in Tallahassee. Florida is coming off a 6-point victory against the University of Central Florida. Despite the loss, I know this team didn't lose their spirit when these guys yell, "Go Noles!" Back to you, Jackson.
This is my favorite segment of the show. We'll showcase a new rule each and every week about the game of rugby, so you at home can understand why the official blows the whistle. So what will our first rule be? Tackling. Gentlemen? Okay, let's get into this here. The ball carrier is underneath the tackler, but the tackler, the defender in this case, is not directly on top of the ball carrier. If that was the case, there'd be a whistle blown. You can't do that. Now, if you are on the ground, if you are the ball carrier in this instance, you have to let go of the ball as soon as you're tackled, or else that's a flag. If you are the defender in this instance, you cannot go to strip for the ball, or else that's a flag. Both players they have to immediately get up and immediately separate after the tackle is made. Now, we can resume. FIU had the largest margin of victory this week. Here's Tyreek Bryant with more.
Hello, I am Tyreek Bryant. The FIU Panthers kicked off play in the Florida Collegiate Conference, taking on the University of North Florida. Coming off a semifinal loss in last year's playoffs, they look to have even better success. The Panthers started the game off high with 2 tries and conversion scored within 3 minutes of each other. Alejandro Garcia at the 10th minute mark, Jose Carlos Sarmiento at the 13th, and Segundo Kremeski putting those points on the board. During this game, 5 different players made it into the try zone for the Panthers. This came from explosive plays bursting past the Deadbirds defense. The FIU men's rugby team won 38-14 over UNF. They started the season off just the way they wanted to, as the journey to make it to the FCC finals has just begun. I spoke with Nicholas Lane this past Thursday about his season expectations and his career after college.
This season I'm pretty confident with the team we have. I think last year we lost in the semifinals, so I definitely think this year we could make it to the finals. If not, I think we should win it. We had a disappointed sevens tournament where I personally think we should have won the game, but we lost in the finals. No discredit to USF, but I think we were the better team there in the tournament, and I think other people realize that too.
And that's going to be the key motivation during this entire season?
Yeah, I think for a lot of the guys, like especially the seniors, like that was our last chance to go to sevens nationals, and we felt like we deserved it. We put in the work for that, but we'll just finish the business in 15s. Well, I always had an interest for finance and investing and being able to grow money and everything from when I was younger. The accounting side, I came in FIU with some credits from high school, so I added accounting as a second major just because I thought it would be useful in the finance world. My mom's an accountant, so I always said that I would stay away from accounting because I thought it sounded boring. But then I started taking some classes at FIU, and like that interest kind of grew for me. So I think I'm gonna be pursuing an accounting career after I graduate.
And what was the internship like? What did you learn from your internship in the Bahamas?
So the internship I did in the Bahamas was actually as an investment bank, in a private bank that managed wealth for clients. And I think the internship just opened my eyes to me and made me realize that the working field isn't as complicated as you would think. Like, I always had an impression that everything they do in the banks are like extremely complicated, but it's really not that complicated. And like, it kind of made me feel confident for graduation when I do graduate.
Lane is confident about his abilities on and off the field, ready to lead his team to bigger and better things. The Panthers' next matchup will be against UCF Saturday at 3 p.m. My name is Tyreek Bryant. Back to you, Jackson.
It's time to meet the player of the week. From FIU, number 10, Segundo Kremeski. Jukes left. After he gets the ball here, you see him, number 10, right there. Jukes left and weaves his way past the goalposts for his second try of the game. He would hit 4 conversions in this game as well, totaling a league high for week 18 points for just one player. It was a dominant performance for Kremeski and the Panthers of FIU. Carlos Rosado has more from their opponent, the Deadbirds of UNF.
A flock of North Floridian Deadbirds migrated south from Duval to Miami-Dade County, and as soon as they landed, their season shortly began. On January 21st, Coach Ed Clark and his club aimed to start the season on an uplift against Florida International University, a club they defeated by 22 last season. But after an unfortunate performance, the score was flipped and the Deadbirds became Panther prey. At Modesto A. Mayde campus, North Florida lost by 24 points in a 38-14 defeat. They surrendered 6 tries, however, FIU was unable to make all of their conversions, unlike the Deadbirds who cashed their solo conversion after having their only try of the match. North Florida also made the contest's sole penalty kick, beaming it straight through the goalposts and in the trees for someone to reluctantly get. It was a rough way to start the 2023 season, but the Deadbirds will ruffle it off. North Florida's not finished migrating yet. In 2 weeks, on February 4th, the Deadbirds will travel south, this time to Tampa, where they hope to take their talents and stab it through the eyes of the USF Bulls. For the Rugby Report, representing North Florida, I'm Carlos Rosado.
Here's a look at your leaderboards after week 1. Remember, you receive a bonus point if you either lose by less than 7 or you score at least 4 tries in a match. UCF did both of those things to earn the maximum 2 bonus points in their loss to Florida. If there was a draw, both teams would get 2 points with a chance to earn the 4-try bonus. Here's a look at next week's action. The University of North Florida will get their week off on bye. Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, FAU will make their season debut at home. They play the Bulls of USF, coming off a huge win off FSU. After a 24-point week 1 win, FIU will host UCF Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Finally, FSU will try to rebound at home against the Gators of Florida. Well, that's all the time we have this week. From all the crew here at the studio in the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, this is Jackson Faulkner thanking you for watching the Rugby Report.